This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to the Oregon Board of Massage Therapists meeting. It's January 22nd, 2024, and my time is 9:08 a.m. Pacific time. I'm Carol Gray, the Vice Chair. I call this meeting to order. I'd like to start with introductions. We'll start with board members, then staff, and then the public. Beginning with board members who are present in Salem, please introduce yourselves.
Maria Odell, public.
John Scott English, public.
All right. Now for board members who are participating remotely.
Hi, I'm Krista Rodriguez, LMT member from Southern Oregon.
Next, staff members, please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Jeff Van Lannen, Compliance and Licensure Manager.
Okay.
Good morning, my name is Ekaite Udasanaka Haruna, Policy and Operation Analyst for the board.
Mitch Breedlove, Compliance Specialist for the board.
Lori Lindley, Assistant Attorney General assigned to the board.
Okay, thank you. Are there any staff members that are participating remotely?
No, this is it, Carol.
Okay. Next, I'd like to allow members of the general public to introduce yourselves. If you happen to be an LMT, please also state your license number so we can record it for the record.
My name is Ashley Hernandez. I'm the Government Relations Specialist for the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards.
I'm Tiffany Clarkin, licensed massage therapist number 5022, and I'm department chair for the massage program at Road Community College.
Yep.
Gina Lawrence.
Oh, Gina, hi. I'm Gina Lawrence. I'm a massage LMT 10480 is my number. And I'm just listening in on a board meeting. I've been a massage therapist for 20 something years. I just never listened to a board meeting before. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting.
Welcome, Gina.
Good to be here.
Hello, my name is Mimosa Ismaili. My number license is 19972. I work in for Hand and Stone, almost 7 years.
Welcome. Did we get everyone? I believe we did. All right. Next up is the agenda for this meeting. Before we approve it, I would like to make some changes. I would like to postpone the director's report. Robert Rourke, our executive director, is not present at this meeting. I'd like to postpone the director's report until next meeting when he will be available to answer questions if there are any. Do we have any discussion about this?
All I might add to that, Carol, is I do have one small snippet from, okay, Akaite says she has that handled and it's already on the agenda, so we'll just move forward.
Okay, that sounds good. There's another change that I would like to make, and that is we have at the end of our meeting a training scheduled, and given that we have such a small number of board members present, I think it also makes sense to postpone that training until next meeting also, so that everyone can get that training done. Is there any discussion about that?
Agreed.
Okay. All right, I'd like to have a motion then to approve the agenda as amended with those two things postponed.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is, looks like a compliance report.
Approve the minutes from last meeting?
Oh, thank you for helping me with this. This is my first time leading this meeting. Yes, we need to approve the minutes from the November 16th, 2023 meeting. Those minutes are now have been available in total. We have a video of the entire meeting. And so I presume that everyone's had a chance to watch and or listen. Do we need to discuss anything about the minutes? I'll take that for a no. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the November meeting.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you for keeping me on track. I think now we're ready for a compliance report.
Perfect job, Carol.
Board business, the first item on this, the board member recruitment. So now we're in board business.
She thought that was part of director's report.
And
It
we
was.
don't have the right agenda, we have the updated agenda on
When was the agenda updated?
Friday. So here, I will give you the right time.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Who's passed this?
I have one thing.
Maybe.
Madam Chair, I will present a snippet from the director's report that was important enough that Director Ruark and I and Akayate believe we needed to discuss it. And that's about board member recruitment.
Okay.
Executive appointments at the governor's office have moved 3 candidates forward for Senate confirmation. 1 candidate is a board member reappointment. I believe that's you,
That's me.
Maria. And 2 others are initial first-time appointments. One is to replace the outgoing board member, Krista Rodriguez, and the other is to replace Shannon Gallup, who resigned from the board midterm. All 3 of those candidates will be up for confirmation on February 17th of 2024, and if everything works out, we'll be here for the March 2024 board meeting. We would also like to announce that our public health care member, Dr. Rami, has resigned his position on the board, and that Director Ruark will be working with the governor's office to find a replacement for Dr. Rami. We want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Rami for his service to the state of Oregon and the Board of Massage Therapists, and we wish him well.
Thank you, Dr. Rami, for your service, and also Shannon Gall.
Shannon was recognized last time.
Yes, I believe we recognized Shannon at the last meeting, but yes, of course we do.
Yeah.
Also like to take just one brief moment. Are you still there, Krista? Everybody moved around on the board, but yeah, there she is. Krista, we're sorry you can't be here, but we got you this lovely thank you plaque for all your service. It says presented to Krista Rodriguez in recognition of your years of hard work and dedicated service to the Oregon State Board of Massage Therapists, February 09, 2016 to January 31, 2024. Thank you, Krista. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, everyone.
And we won't make you drive all the way up. We'll put that in the mail for you if you'd like. Unless you want to come visit, I'll buy lunch.
I'm happy to come visit because I got things to bring.
Oh, you probably have stuff to bring back. All right.
Thank you, Krista.
And with your approval, Madam Chair, I'll move on to the compliance and licensure report.
Thank you, Jeff. Go for it.
Okay, so licensure, that's pretty easy this session. Since our last meeting in November, office operations have proceeded smoothly. Staff has enjoyed the holidays, and many of us took leave to celebrate with our friends and family at home and abroad. Kaite went all the way to Europe this year. The licensure division functioned without issue, and the volume of renewals and new applicants has remained steady and within norm. Into compliance also remains steady and at normal levels. We were able to get compliance specialist Breedlove out in the field for a unlicensed practice investigation as part of his training, and we will continue to train in the field as opportunities present themselves. We continue to refine our processes and are able to resolve many of our compliance cases from the past few meetings with the collection of civil penalty payments and final orders. We hope to have time to return to the backlog of cases from the time before Mitch took over the position. Each of these will require a review for status and next steps. We'll keep you posted. On a high note, case 3199, the Hop and Spa investigation in Sisters that you'll all likely remember. This involved an unlicensed practitioner and facility in Sisters, Oregon that included sex abuse and other allegations. This was resolved by the board in June 6 of 2023. The respondent recently completed their criminal court process, and the respondent, well, for us, the respondent was fined a total of $50,000 and has been sent to collections at the Department of Revenue. The subsequent criminal investigation was resolved on January 9th, and the respondent was sentenced for multiple charges of practicing massage without a license, as well as sex abuse. In addition to the jail time, house arrest, and probation, he must now register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. While this was a most difficult case for everyone involved, the final results are positive, and the victims have had their day in court and have expressed their appreciation to the entire board staff, and law enforcement for everyone's hard work on the case. And then I have attached the official court record for the final judgment and that for you to peruse. Are there any questions or comments regarding the compliance and licensure report?
Just yay.
Yay.
Yeah, well
done. That was a difficult case for Lori.
Jeff and Lori.
For Jeff and
Yeah, thank you. I think we can move on to legislative update. Is there information there for us to know about?
I believe Lori has something.
There is a legislative concept they're trying to push through in the short session, which I believe begins the 1st of February. It's legislative concept 98, and it's giving healthcare folks temporary licensure. It's creating quite a stir with some of my other clients in terms of the fiscal on that, because the background checks and everything can't be done quickly. So then once you give them a license and you find something out later, then you have to take it away. So I don't know who's behind it, and it's usually not something they do in the short session. So it's kind of an interesting bill. I'm going to forward, Stephen just did a big thing on it, forward that to Robert.
It is something that I know that Director Rourke is tracking.
What's the likelihood in this case that licensed massage therapists would be considered healthcare workers? So, I know sometimes we are, sometimes we aren't.
You are under 676-150. You're in the queue of healthcare professional regulatory board, so you are considered that.
And on my first read of the concept draft, we are included at this point. We haven't been taken out specifically, but reading the first draft, I think there's a lot of questions and a lot of discussion that's still going to have to happen at the legislative level before we panic too much on this one. There's a lot of terms that I didn't find well defined yet as to what substantially equal to. They have to have a license in another state, and that licensing process from that state has to be substantially similar or some other term along the vague term like that in order to then qualify for an initial license in the healthcare area here in Oregon, and then that can run as long as a year, I believe, while they go through the regular application process to get approved. So my first question was, what is substantially similar? I mean, is 500 hours
Similar to
substantial?
625?
To 625 or
Right.
not? So there'll be a lot of things, and each of these agencies in the healthcare profession are going to have their own separate issues with it. So there's still a lot of discussion to go forward. And like I said, Director Ruark and Akaite will be tracking this for developments. And if it starts to pick up speed or get legs, then we will keep everybody apprised if there's any testifying or responses that the board may want to consider submitting. Is that correct, Julie?
Correct, correct. And, you know, everybody has different statutes, including all the health related boards have different statutes, the way they're worded. And then of course, the 49 other states have different statutes. So finding someone that's similar is going to be a really difficult issue. So he's correct on that.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot for the legislature to bite off in the short session. I presume this is really to help fill the gap, the nursing shortage gap, right?
Yeah, I think it was brought on by COVID and the nursing issue, correct?
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to follow it. It doesn't sound like there are any decisions we need to make at this point, aside from just keeping our eyes and ears open. Did I get that right?
I believe so, yes, Carol.
Okay. Is there any other discussion about this issue? Before we move on, I want to remind people who are of the general public to please mute your microphones so we don't get extra noises in this process. Next up on the agenda is the rules update.
Okay. All right, so last time we brought a couple of rules up. One was the one about changing the language from endorsement to endorsement. And of course, we can do that because it is in statute. And if we are to do that, we need to change the language in statute. And so we have pushed that forward to be discussed at a later date and perhaps brought to committee to do some work on that. And then the other rule that was also touched on was the BLS, changing back to just CPR. That has also been moved forward as we move on to have committee look at that as well. In the meantime, we do have the continuing education rules that we would like to have implemented come July 1, just to clarify language. So the rule is already implemented, but we do have some language that we want to clarify on there. And everybody should have had an opportunity, I hope, to review those languages. That would be the only rule that we have to move forward. And the only language we need to clarify is in subsection 1. We added B to it because before we had the clarification in terms of who, so the language would read, each licensee must complete 25 hours of continuing education each renewal period. But we left out the breakdown, which was of the 25 hours, at least 8 must be supervised continuing education, and not the 8 supervised hours at least, and so on. So that's one place. And then we also clarifying language for the pain management requirement to clarify who and when an LMT must take that pain management requirement course. So those are the two main clarification on the continuing education rules, and we would like to have that implemented in July of this year.
Okay, so is there any discussion about this?
It looks clear to me.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve these minor clarifying changes?
To go to go through the rule making process.
Yep.
You know, Kaite, I'm having a really hard time hearing you on my end. it's, I don't know whether you could increase the volume on your microphone. I've got mine kind of cranked up, my speaker cranked all the way up.
I make a motion to move the rules that we just talked about, continuing education, move forward to the rulemaking process.
Did you hear that?
Yes, that I can hear really well. Maria, I think you're just closer to the microphone, so that's awesome. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor to move this forward to the rulemaking process?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
All right, next is the topic on proposed borderline topics for the spring 2022.
2024.
2024?
It was bound to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Is it already? Okay, so we've got 4 topics on here. These are just proposed borderline topics. At this point, if anybody wishes or have any ideas that they would like to add on to it, this would be your opportunity to do so.
I'd like to add like an outgoing deal for myself on there, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would be wonderful,
Absolutely.
Chris.
Cool.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just seems right.
It does. You're right.
Setting a precedence, aren't you?
Well, no, I think other people have done it before. I don't think I'm the only one.
It was my mistake, my apologies. How could I?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No, you don't need to apologize.
Has the board ever done like a statistics thing on how much unlicensed practice we're actually like handling so that the practitioners know where their license fees are kind of doing in terms of enforcement? Is there any kind of statistics or, I don't know if you guys keep that stuff.
We don't have a system that really
keeps track of
monitors that. We could probably have the league go through if we found a key indicator, like we label our investigations when they're ULPs.
Okay.
We could, if that's a flag that's, we might then be able to break that out from all other cases.
Yeah, maybe for like the year 2023, just be interesting to see, because I think we're getting a lot more active, a lot more law enforcement overlap and that kind of thing. And maybe just do like a little blurb or a square with all those statistics or something.
In the disciplinary action summary that's already on here, maybe I could
add that.
I could look and see what a Kaite can, and I can come up with statistically and then give some numbers for that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, Lori, so that the LMTs know where their fees are going to. So licensure fees as opposed to just investigative fees and all of that.
Keep in mind that licensure fees, initial and renewals, for the most part conceptually pay for the staff that processes the license application and the steps in that. And we try to keep the compliance civil penalty fees paying for our investigative and compliance section.
That's a good way to make that an explanation. Thank you.
So it's my hope that we're not really, I mean, I don't know, I'd have to talk to Director Ruark about if he splits that out in his budget, if he tracks it those 2 different ways. But I know the goal is to put the onus of the investigative portion, those LMTs that are having issues in the compliance area, and those unlicensed practitioners that get our attention and need to be addressed, that's as little as possible being funded from the actual licensure fees, and that we can be self-supporting as a compliance division in our own civil fee collections.
Perfect.
It's unfortunate that in that area, we don't have direct control over the civil collections. Many of our civil penalties go to collections, which then is the Department of Revenue goes to work for us to recover that. And sometimes it's years before we'll get the payment from a case from 2, 3, 4 years ago. it would be very difficult to correlate how much money we take in 1 year and what year that actually paid for. But I think I can come up with something that's actual and trackable and try to give a breakdown. At least the percentage of how many investigations are dealing with licensees that have been accused of misconduct versus unlicensed practice.
Right.
I believe we can break that down. And I'll be honest with the board and the public that since our transition with Mitch coming on board as our compliance specialist, we are going through with Elite and learning how to flag each of these cases in Elite's system. And Elite is not designed for the tracking and statistical nature of that, and at least intuitively. But I know a Kaite can work some magic in there, and if we are entering the data properly, then we can pull the data out that's solid. We just need to make sure that Mitch and I are entering the data properly.
I like the idea of describing it in a little description in addition to whatever statistics we can come up with, in that way that you just did, Jeff, about how licensing fees are not just immediately turned around to chase after people for unlicensed practice. I mean, like, that idea, I think, makes some people cranky out there, and to describe how compliance hopes to be self-supporting it in that way. I think that it would be really nice to talk about those budgetary goals. And I think licensees need to know that.
I agree, Carol, and I will do my best to work that into my article contribution.
Yeah. I think that sounds awesome. Is there any other discussion about this? Okay. Any other discussion about borderline topics in general? Of course, we're going to have some new members to showcase. Krista, and by the way, Krista, I'm excited that you want to write something because you'll have so much just perspective to share with people about all the things you've seen and all the things that have taken place during your long tenure.
Well, thank you.
I think that we are down to board member new business. Is there any? I hear none. So now we're at the public comment and correspondence section of this meeting. Do we want to discuss the correspondence that was mailed to us first? I think that's probably a good idea. We have two, correct? One is the back scratching device / practice.
Carol, we added a last minute one, I think Friday afternoon.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was added this morning.
Oh, this morning, sorry. It came in right at the end of the day on Friday, and it's not a difficult one, but we would like to get it to this meeting as well. It is on the Elite agenda, so you can pull it up there if you have the link.
Okay.
You can read it into the record as well.
Okay, I got to find it. Can I think what I'd rather do is ask somebody who's got it right in front of them to read it. All right.
I'd be happy.
Thank you, Jeff. Go for it. Let's get the one that came in this morning and read that in.
Okay. So the Ray Sedaris, the president of the Oregon School of Massage, sent a message to the board via email. Over the past week, several of our continuing education classes have needed to be canceled due to weather conditions and icy roads. A group of these enrollees were faced with the end of January 2024 deadlines for submitting their renewal credits. we are respectfully requesting that the board extend the deadline from January 31st to February 29th. With warm regards, Ray. We wanted to bring this to the board. I don't believe, and Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the board can actually extend a deadline of a licensure that was about to lapse.
Right.
But there may or may not be wiggle room whether or not the board wanted to waive late fees or something. No, can't do that either. Okay.
That would be breaking our rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your rules say continuing education must be, must be obtained within the time period required, so then you'd be violating your own rule.
Yeah. And we had this discussion a lot. We wait till the last minute and things happen. Not unsympathetic.
Well, and can't they pivot and get things online that are similar to the classes that they were registered for, potentially?
They didn't mention the nature of these classes,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's going to be ethics, communications, boundaries has to be in person.
Okay.
And
It can be interactive distance learning.
can
That's
be,
why we make provision for that.
absolutely.
Assuming that they had power and internet while they were in the ice storm, they could still go on the internet and take a class.
That too.
Yeah.
I mean, we have like, what, 2-3 months for you to.
Solid 2+, yes. And they have 2 years to get the CEs. So, I mean, there's all that to be considered, but how would the board like to respond or ask us to respond?
Well, it sounds like we simply don't have the statutory authority to change those things as much as it would be nice.
Well, and also we can't, there wasn't, I don't think, a state of emergency, right? Because we just went through that whole thing with extending the CEs last time due to a state of emergency, and I don't think it falls under that.
It wasn't one issue.
There was a state of emergency issued regarding a certain area of Portland, I think. I think it was like the Lake Oswego, maybe Clackamas County, like Gresham, I don't know. But I'm not sure that that state of emergency is as large as like the COVID state of emergency.
No, it's not. No.
I think it was specific to a certain area, and it was specific to like getting funding for ice tree removal.
Funding and resources.
Yeah, so I don't think it goes over into the healthcare realm, so to speak.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. It certainly wasn't statewide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we need to have a motion and vote to say sorry to Ray or
I think it's just direction to staff.
Yeah.
If you wanted to direct me to respond as we've discussed, and I've taken notes, and I'd be happy to do that on each of these if appropriate.
Okay. I think that sounds good to me. I don't have the other two. We had 2 others, right, that came in earlier. I don't have them right in front of me, and I'm in a system where I can't find them easily. And I know that one was the back scratching practice and the silicone back scratching device. So I'm excited about talking about that one first.
Okay. Well, then it looks like a Jamie boat chair.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like, boat chair.
Emailed us regarding a business plan that they are initiating, which is basically a back scratching business. After some follow-up questions with board staff, they provided the photo of the silicone back scratching device. We discussed with them the scope of massage. We also directed them to check with the estheticians and other boards that may have jurisdiction on this. And then we brought it to you as correspondence, but based on my research, I didn't see anything in this business plan within the limitations that they explained to us that would make this massage.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, does it fall under our scope of practice? And what I'm seeing is, I don't think so. I would
No.
think the esthetician, cosmetology and esthetician, they're the ones that may have the answer to that.
I agree with you, Krista, that is a definite another avenue that they would want to check. I believe they followed up with me saying that the estheticians didn't have a problem with this limited application as well. I think this might be something that an LMT might employ in their practice as part of a practice, but standing alone, I don't believe that it by itself, it fits the definition of massage.
Is the intended purpose of it to relieve itchiness? Is that?
Yes, itchiness
Basically,
to promote the
well-being. When they described it as just as a feel-good type practice. They would apply some oil, they would run this up and down their back a few times, scratch their back, and then wipe the oil off and in and out in less than 10 minutes. That was how it was described to me when I talked to them.
Okay.
I just see a slippery slope here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
and
I mean, I'm seeing a slippery slope for sure, but I don't.
And at that point, it would become a compliance issue.
Yeah, that's true.
I can assure you that they have been provided with copies of the OARs and ORSs that relate to the definition and scope. And they have assured us that they're not going to cross those lines.
Well, and I know the esthetician's scope says for beautification of the skin or something like that. And so, I mean, I feel like they're kind of playing word games with the statutes and how they're saying what their business plan is, but I guess it would be up to OHLA/massage to figure out who would investigate that. Like, are they doing it for beautification of skin? Are they doing it for medical reasons and well-being? You know, it's an intent thing. So, and that's hard to gauge.
Yeah, and
So,
I think it would have to be complaint-based.
yeah, it would have to be complaint-based. I mean, I don't see anybody paying a lot of money to have somebody scratch their back, but that's just me. I don't know.
There are weirder things.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
We have that cuddling business, remember that?
Oh, yeah, the tickle.
The cuddling,
The one with the
tickle.
tickling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, my initial response back after referring them to the estheticians was that the board was not going to approve this and that we were just going to provide them with what the rules were and remind them that they had to remain within those rules and outside of the practice of massage, or they'd be required to have a license.
And maybe refer them to OHLA as well, but they have to look at that because there's another layer.
That was the very first thing I
Okay.
did. And when they came back saying that they had approved it or had no issues with it, I guess I didn't get approval from them either.
I don't think anybody's gonna approve it, they're just gonna say, okay.
Okay, yeah. So I think this will be the kind of thing that we just, I won't even say monitor because I don't think it's going to be worthy of monitoring it, but just be aware if we do receive a complaint. And then, of course, I would send in an investigator to go get the back scratch to determine whether or not it rises to the level of a massage or not. And we've had those cases before with harmonics and other techniques that aren't massaged, but to make sure that they're not doing both. You know, sometimes it's a segue to the, as long as you're there, you know, rub my neck, and that's where they can't cross that line.
It's the gateway.
It's a gateway scratching pad, yeah.
Is the use of this device limited to the back then?
Good
Or
question.
so they're saying, at least in their business plan?
Yes.
Yes.
That was how it was presented to us.
Mhm. Okay, well, it sounds like it's not a problem until it's a problem, or unless it's a problem.
Exactly.
Okay. Next issue, which I also don't, I apologize to be semi-prepared. We had one more correspondence. Would somebody like to take the reins on that and describe it?
Carol, I'll be happy to read it into the record for you.
I love that, Jeff. Thank you.
Lori Bohm, LMT number 18940 from Portland, Oregon. Two OBMT board members. I'm writing this letter to ask for a change in our required CEs to include 2 to 4 CEs eligible towards our license renewal on the topic of what you deem self-care, which at present is not eligible. I took a 6-hour course, which is recognized by NCBTMB for massage therapists that was deemed not eligible and supposedly outside the scope of practice. Unlike the required multiple hours of ethics classes, which go over the same things year after year, I actually took away reminders of ways to keep solid boundaries and keep burnout at a minimum. This course, 5 Pathways, Becoming the Best Version of Oneself, social, physical, emotional, mental, and meaning-based, which included valuable information for boundaries and burnout, was certainly within the scope of our practice. In order to serve our clients and stay healthy in our practices, focus on ourselves should be part of the big picture in the enjoyment and longevity of our practices. I love learning. I feel skills are obviously important and should remain in the bulk of our required studies. However, the course I took and many others like it are essentially ethics along with self-care and need not be discounted as not in our scope of practice. Thank you for consideration of my request sincerely.
Thank
I
you, Jeff,
believe
for reading that. Oh.
Absolutely, and I believe we have discussed this in the past, about self-care and CE or not CE. So here it is again for additional discussion, and our licensure staff would once again want to either confirm where we are on this or if there's any adjustments from the board.
Well, I think just as is, there's nothing in our, regarding our continuing ed that allows for self-care. So it's been the perspective thus far is you could take all the classes that you deem appropriate for self-care or whatever that may help your business or the practice of massage, but just it doesn't fall under our rules. So that doesn't mean don't take them. And then the other part of it too that we've come up time and time again is the NCTMB is not the Oregon Board of Massage Therapy. So at the end of the day, you know, what we require is what we require. And if now I can say from my perspective, if you all down the line from this point want to discuss about perhaps adding in self-care, that's going to take time too. That's not something that's going to happen during this meeting. I'm just saying this out to the public. This would take, you know, a year or two for it to even be considered. So that's my perspective.
It's interesting to me that in this case, if the course content was as stated, if the course organizer had labeled, had created the title for that class, Professional Boundaries, it might fly.
You're not wrong, Carol. If it's a 4-hour class and 1 hour is on ethics and boundaries, the other 3 hours are on self-care physically, mentally, emotionally, et cetera, then we would accept the ethics part of that, but not the other 3 hours.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's on course organizers and how they want to present and organize their materials. So it sounds like this is just something we've discussed before, and the rules are the rules. Is there any other is there? Yeah, you're welcome. Is there any other discussion about this? Okay, so now we've come to the time for public comment for people who are actually here. If you are attending this meeting as a member of the general public, please say to us what you would like to say and limit your comments to 2 minutes, please, in the interest of efficiency. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gina Lawrence. This is really interesting. I about all the stuff you guys talk about. That's all I really had to say. I, I'm enjoying hearing all this stuff. It's so tedious, but yeah, I guess it's so important. Um, you guys have been great. And when I got sick, you guys were like really helpful for me, giving me a little extra time to get better and get my license back. But so I just wanted to see like what you guys all talk about. Um, thank
Well,
you. That's it.
that you've joined us, and remember that attending a meeting also counts as CEs. And we would welcome you back to future meetings. This one, due to Director Ruark being excused from this meeting and stuff, is slightly abbreviated, so come back for another one, and you'll get the full effect.
And tell
Okay,
all
I
your
will.
friends.
So I get CEs for this? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, and I wait till the last minute. Actually, it's due in March, but I start in December. And I usually have my schooling behind me, but then I do all the other stuff in December, for the CPR and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of feel for those people that waited till the last minute because I do that myself. But um, so I guess, it's just do it sooner. You got to tell yourself to do it that way. Otherwise, snow, I didn't leave the house for 5 days here in Bend. It was crazy. I didn't want to fall down. It was so icy. So yeah, it's better to take your courses earlier.
That's a
Um,
great point, especially if you have to
Yep.
renew in the winter time. And, while the board has, uh, during COVID and now post-COVID has opened and expanded things for the online, accessibility for CEs and supervised CEs, that doesn't mean that you're gonna have the internet or electricity in some of these storms. So, I think getting done a couple months early is a great idea.
yeah, my power went out too. Yeah, we were out with, so, I don't know, 8 hours, no power, and it was 16 below. I was like, man, I'm getting in bed. It's just staying warm because that was all you could do. It was dark. What else was there to do? No internet or anything. Yeah, so you're right. Thank you for
Thank,
letting me be here.
thank you,
Thank
Gina.
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gina. And I would encourage you to any other LMTs that you know to encourage them to attend as well.
Yeah, I will. I'll let them know I did this, and it was quite interesting. You guys are like normal people. You're not robots. It's nice.
I mean, normal within reason, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're humans. You're humans, should I say? It's nice. It's nice that there's the human element still in this world. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who would like to speak? I will take that as a no. So we're right up against breaking into executive session. Do we want to do that now or have a break before I read us out of here and into executive session? What's the
I,
preference of people?
I think the best way that we've found is that if you read us in now, and then we take the break, and then we come back after the break into it, and then you don't have to read it again. Is that correct, Akayate?
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. I have a remarkably long script in front of me, I think only some of which is actually read by
Correct.
other people. So forgive me for having, these meetings run a lot better when the real chair is there. This is my first go round for this. So here
You're
we
doing
go.
great.
Thank you. The Oregon Board of Massage Therapists will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 to discuss certain matters on the agenda pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection pursuant to ORS 192.501 sub 4. Also, to review, discuss, and consider written legal advice provided by the Department of Justice pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub F, or to consult with counsel concerning legal rights and duties regarding current litigation or litigation likely to be filed pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub H. To consider and discuss in executive session information obtained as part of an investigation of a licensee, applicant, or other person alleged to be practicing in violation of law pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub K sub L and ORS 676.175. There are other things on this list that will not be discussed. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of executive session, the board will return to open session and welcome the audience back into this virtual room. And are there any members of the media present who might be joining us? No, I see none. Nobody is raising their hand. See, so after public session is excused. Oh, I don't need to read that part. I think that's it. I am now reading us into executive session. I think with the, and after which we will return to the public session. My guess is that we'll be in executive session for maybe an hour and a half. Does that sound reasonable to other people?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay, so do I need a motion to adjourn us, or are we simply ongoing?
We are simply ongoing. So, board members, you meet up in executive session. Public member, you can stay in this space if you like, or you can come back and sign back in about 2 hours or earlier. And we'll see you over in executive session after we return from the break, I guess.
How long would
Okay.
you like to meet, Carol?
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock now.
We will meet at is 10 minutes, 15 minutes? What do we want?
15 would be good, Carol.
15? Okay, so we'll meet in executive session at 10:15.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
See you all soon.